angry or resistant or negative, frustrated sort of reactions that some people are having, if we could frame that in the sense that they may be dealing with the stress of it themselves and they may be in denial about the severity of it. They may be struggling with being in their home situation in a way, right? So one of the things about social distancing and being at home is um, let's not assume that everybody has a safe, sound, and comfortable place to live, right? That there may be people that are in home situations that are already stressful, that are dysfunctional for them, and that being at school, being at work, being out may be the ways that they are able to manage that and live through those situations. And now we're asking people to be in home together or be sequestered in some way. And that might not be ideal for everybody. I'm going to speak on behalf of the moms, and I hear you, Tomas. I was listening to your professional development advice, and I think that is wonderful and great. For me, as a single mom in these streets with an 8-year-old at home now for at least 2 weeks, I don't really know that I have a lot of free time on my hands.
You don't have Coursera time. You don't have Skillshare time, is what you're saying.
I think between managing my working remotely, which I'm still required to do, and keeping my child, one, entertained, two, not going into complete brain drain, and keeping her fed and from destroying the house. Like, that's a lot that's going to be on my plate to begin with.
Right.
And so, no, I'm not going to be doing a lot of professional development.
For shame.
Time, just, you know.
For shame.
But look, what I'm trying to say is there is no one size fits all solution for this.
And I'm happy.
What I do believe,
I'm sorry.
yeah.
No, go ahead on. I'm sorry.
Yeah, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say.
But what I do believe is, no, after you. You go for it, Tomas. Go for it.
Thank you, ma'am. No, I was just going to say, I'm happy that you made that comment because it segues into something I wanted to talk about. Actually, you know what? Go ahead on and say what you're going to say because what I'm going to say is going to be a segue. So please, go ahead on, please.
Okay. So what I was going to say is there is no one-size-fits-all solution, but we all have to be focused on the same goal. So we can all take a very different pathway to get there, but the goal is to get this virus to die down and to make sure that we're doing our part to reduce the risk to others. Period. The end.
Right.
Now, whether you do that by letting your kids eat all of the fruit roll-ups and Cheetos while watching Netflix or Disney Plus all day long for the next X number of weeks, no judgment from me on that. Whether you turn your living room into a homeschool situation for your kids, whether you're able to finally get that book finished that you've been working on, whether you're able to adapt new skills because you've been taking Coursera, whether it's because you now engage in a regular yoga practice or you get on that Peloton you've been paying for but haven't actually used, right? However you choose to do that. Right. No one can be in judgment
right.
about how we get through this. But I think we need to figure out how we get through it together. Mm-hmm. How do we get through it empathically? How do we get through it compassionately? But the route that you take, do you, boo? Do you?
And so this is why I was happy you made the comment about, as a single mother, managing her own employment and trying to, keep your child entertained. Is because what I said is one potential option for a very specific group of people, right? And I think what happens a lot of times in these types of situations is that people stand up on their pulpits and they throw down these, well, just go to Coursera and do this, that, and the other thing, with no concern of the socioeconomic impact, with no concern of people's resources, with no concern of people's ability, their ability to learn, their ability to know how they learn. Like, there's no concern to any of that. So I just want to be the first one to say that As a person who coaches, that was a suggestion. It is not me saying, do this, this is what you should be doing, and if you don't do this, you're a bad person. Not at all. Because here's the thing. The single moms and dads here in New York City who may or may not be at work today, but whose children are home, and they found this out yesterday when they closed the schools. Oh, by the way, your child ain't going to school tomorrow, and they're going to do remote learning. They'll be able to go pick up their school lunches and stuff like that and come back home, but they're going to be home. Now, that's cute if you got a teenager and they're, fairly responsible. Well, what are you doing with that Asha-aged child, right? What are you doing with her? How are you dealing with that when you still got to go to work? And what if you're a healthcare worker and you're going in and you're dealing with this crisis? Right. You're on the forefront and you got a child back at home you're dealing with, right? Me saying, girl, just go on Coursera, get your skills up is ridiculous. So let's be honest to put a little ribbon on what you were saying. Anyone can give you suggestions. I could give them to you. Dr. Nikki can give them to you. There's so many different people out there who are going to give you suggestions. You see people on the TV talking about mental health and things you should do and could do and all of this. You've got to decide what works for you and your situation. There's enough resources out there to help you make that decision, but don't feel beholden to anyone's idea of what you should be doing to take care of yourself. That you've got to do that.
Because I'm going to tell everybody right now, in this good Coleman household, we taking it day by day, player. Day by day.
Let me tell you, we doing the same thing over this way. Because this morning, as you know, I was like, I think I'm going to go into the office. Everything is closed down. The office is going to be empty. It's going to be super fab, blah, 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 blah. And then it was, oh, well, this is closing, that's closing. We're closing at this time, and this is happening here, and this is not going to happen. Oh, okay, well, let me just rethink my whole life right now. And maybe I should just go ahead on and not get on that train. And that's when I called into the office, and they're like, if you're going to come, you can come, but you cannot bring anyone with you. We are closed to all non-members, and we're limiting our hours. So and that happened between our phone call this morning and us doing this podcast now, right? So you've got to be able to take care of yourself, and you've got to focus on what works for you and know what is good for you. And honestly, my heart goes out to those of us. And this is the part I get really emotional, because reading stories of homeless mothers taking their children into empty homes and demanding that the city allow them to stay because they need to be quarantined and off the street. See, when we're sitting up here in our homes and sequestering ourselves, we're not thinking about homeless people. And we're not thinking about the fact that they are all in these gigantic hostile type situations, sharing beds that are right next to each other. There's no such thing as social distancing when you're dealing with economic depravity. And we don't think about that, right? I think that as we think about ourselves and take care of ourselves, we also need to, again, take a look at our neighbor. And not just our colleague, not just our, quote, economic equal or cultural equal or whatever. Take a real hard look at everything around and ask yourself, how can we use this opportunity to make changes for everyone? Why do they have all of those houses sitting up there vacant? One of which was Julia Child's childhood home, which has been empty for 35 years. Why is there not a homeless person or a person who is struggling to pay their rent or whatever? Why are they not in this place? I don't understand it. I do. I understand capitalism, but I don't understand it.
Right.
So
that's a whole different podcast too.
It is
right there.
It is.
Yeah. I do think I think the more we can start to think about others, and different ways that different people may be struggling or differently challenged throughout this time, the better off we will all be. I saw an Instagram story from somebody who I truly respect and admire. She's actually my daughter's after-school director, and she was talking about consider going shopping for folks that are, elderly folks or folks that may be at high risk.
That's
and if
right.
you don't know that, she said maybe you also could shop for the folks who are working as cashiers and watching all the
That's
goods
right.
come and go, but they
That's
can't
right.
actually purchase because they're on their shift and they can't put it aside. And I thought, oh my gosh, so simple, but how profound, how kind, how loving, how generous, right?
And you
So
don't,
there are lots
you
of
could
ways.
just leave it at your elderly neighbor's door. You could leave it if you know that
Right.
there's a single mom or single dad and they're struggling, and you know this, right? Because they're your neighbor. You don't have to shame them. You don't have to do anything like that. If you have it, and you can spare it, take a little box of food, put it out there in front of their door, and walk away. You don't know what that will do to them. Like, it's just, this is an opportunity. We could take the opportunity. It is my hope that we do take this opportunity. But these are just things we need to think about. I've a lot of my friends, as you know, are in the entertainment business. That's a gig economy. They're not performing in clubs. The clubs are closed. They're not in the bars. They're not on tour. They're not making money. They're not paying their rent, which also means that whatever money they have is going to food or whatever, or they're saying, well, I'm not going to eat some meals because I can't be homeless. Housing courts sure enough ain't closed. So that's very
No,
real.
they're not.
So it's just be cognizant of people who are less fortunate, and if you can do something to help. There was a woman on TV yesterday who said this really wonderful thing. And again, I understand the socioeconomics of her statement, and I saw her for who she was. She was a woman who had a little bit more disposable income, but she's planning to use it in a really good way. She said a lot of these restaurants that are closing in my area are by private owners. And I would hate for them to be closed for 8 weeks and then not be able to open, or they lost all their staff, whatever. She said, so even if I go in and buy a gift card or do takeout or something, I'm committed to keeping them open. And I hope everyone in my neighborhood will do the same. And I said, this is a woman who has means, who's using it in a positive way. And I hope other people hear that.
I think that this piece of the conversation we're talking about is one of the ways to healthily navigate this. And it is thinking about how you can be of service to others. It always is good for your own soul and your own mental well-being if you're able to help someone out.
Amen.
And there are many, many, many more of us. Fortunately, there are many more of us that can do, even if we don't have the financial means, we have access to acts of kindness and care and concern for those around us that can really go a long way. I also really want to send a shout out to folks that are really using social media in such a beautiful way. So, oh my gosh, I just blanked on his name, Mark Canamura. I hope I'm pronouncing it right. Right, he's on Instagram, and he's been doing these live dance parties.
Let's just, honey, can we just take a moment and talk about his sexy behind? Let's just be real. Yeah, let's just be real. I've been on him since the Beyonce Lady Gaga video Telephone, because he was in that video just doing his thing. And I was like, who is this sexy one right up in her? You know what I mean? Like, he's just doing it. These hips don't lie. He got those Shakira hips right there. Yes. And so what he's doing right now, like I was literally looking at it the other day. And it really did bring me to tears because it's so important for people to connect to their joy right now. And he's just he's bringing such joy, and it's just, like, you don't need to do that, right? And it's when you really think about it, it's such a little thing. It's such a simple thing, but it makes so many people happy and takes them out of their misery for a minute and allows them to just, as you said, be in the moment, refocus, and just take that personal inventory and get back with a little bit of hope and a little bit of joy to keep moving forward. And so shout out to him for that. Shout out to him for that.
I love it. And then I also saw where Netflix has this app or add-on, I think is the appropriate techie term to use. So if you watch, it's a Chrome add-on called Netflix Party. And so you can get online, watch your Netflix with a group of people, and if you put people in the party